My YouTube feed has just been full of videos that are talking about how Claude can edit your videos for you so you don't ever have to touch video editing again. The thing is that you really can edit your videos with Claude, mostly, but you shouldn't. In this video, I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't use Claude. I'm going to show you a bit of my workflow using an off-the-shelf tool. I'm going to use the app Gling, but there are others out there like TimeBolt. I'm not sponsored by any of them, and I pay to use all of them. So first, let's talk about why not to use Claude to edit your videos. The main reason is that the process is incredibly complicated to get set up, and it still leaves you with an unfinished product that you have to go through and do final edits on anyhow. But that's something that most of these videos don't tell you. I run 2 YouTube channels and I have a lot of videos to edit. If I can edit them faster, I can make more videos, which makes me more money. But the catch-22 of YouTube is that you need to make a lot more videos to pay for an editor, but you need an editor to make more videos. Not only have I watched every single one of these videos that show up on my feed and tested almost every single one, I even spent a month building my own Claude-based pipeline, and I think they're just not worth it for most creators. Here is a video from a fantastic YouTube channel, Chronixel, about building Claude workflows to make motion graphics for you. It's not specifically the first cut editing I'm talking about, so it's part of what these other videos are including.
You need to install 4 things, right? You need to install Claude's desktop app. You need to install Git Bash to make Claude code work. You need to install Node.js to make the skill we are installing work. That skill will be Remotion. And finally, you need Claude's Chrome extension.
One of my favorite sayings is that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. The tool that I'm going to show you, Gling, does the squeezing for you. Here's the quick list of the things that you can do with Gling. You can remove bad takes. You can automatically remove silences. You can auto-remove filler words. You can do AI captions, auto-framing. We can do subtitle generation, speech audio enhancement, AI-based B-rolls. It can auto-add like and subscribe buttons, and it can replace your background with an AI studio. There's also a YouTube title generator, a YouTube chapters generator, and it gives you suggestions for your next video when you connect it to your YouTube channel. And a huge one for me is that it does multicam editing. To understand what I'm going to show you, we need to just establish what it is that AI video editing does. Both Claude and the off-the-shelf tools like Gling take a transcript of your video and read that like it's a document. They look for places where you've said the same line over and over again. They look for places where you've flubbed a line. They look for long pauses. They don't really edit the videos, they make a file that your video editor can use to make a timeline, and that's called an XML file. Basically, this XML file is a bullet point list of what time code to cut out and what to leave in. If you had a long pause between 1 minute and 10 seconds and 1 minute and 30 seconds, the instructions just say to skip the part from 1 minute and 11 seconds to 1 minute and 29. These XML files can be important to Resolve, Premiere, Final Cut, pretty much any video editor, and it makes a timeline splitting the footage at each timecode part in the file. Sometimes the timecode might be a fraction of a second or 2 off from the start or stop of a sentence. So for example, instead of getting something like, "This is the new iPhone 17 Pro," the instruction might say to cut it to, "Is the new iPhone 17 Pro?" And sometimes these AI systems just completely miss which is a good take. If you use Claude or any other AI system, what you end up with is these clips that you still have to go through and check to make sure that they're okay. There is no getting around that. Not only does Gling do the first pass editing that you would do in Claude, but you can use a visual transcript editor in order to tweak it. And again, as a reminder, I am not sponsored and I pay monthly for this tool. But wait, you say, I have to pay for this? I already pay for Claude. Well, that's true, but editing your videos in Claude is not actually free either. Every time you run the editing tool, you're burning tokens. So it might be a low cost to do this video editing, but it's not free. Gling also gives me tools that Claude just can't do. I use Resolve to do my video editing, but since Gling gives you a full video editing, you could really do a start to finish edit inside of Gling. The only thing it doesn't do right now is allow you to add your own B-roll and motion graphics over top of what you're editing. Alright, so now I've told you why I use Gling, let me just show you a quick workflow using the footage you just watched. This is Gling's main interface. You're going to want to click over here first and do Edit with AI. Click on here to browse your files, and this is my footage from the first part of this video. And this is the main interface to start. If you have a script, which I do, you just paste the script in, and it uses that for better text recognition and for better things like when you go to make captions. And if I'm going to do the rest of my work in Resolve, I only choose cut silences, cut bad takes, and remove filler words. You can add a lot of these things later, so first I'm going to show you how I edit this for Resolve. So I'm going to click Enhance and Edit. This is the main interface. I'm working with a really small screen right now, so usually there's more room to work, but stick with me here. On the left side here, we have the transcript. So you go through the transcript, and anything that's gray with a line through it is something that was cut. Now, Claude Code would probably have left this in. I said there have been title, and what I meant to say is there are things. And so this is different than this, and this was left in. But I'm going to come and highlight this, and I'm going to hit the scissors button, and it takes that line out. There are things, I've seen titles like Claude Video Editing just because, okay, I take that out. So let's say that I want to come in here and I want to do a manual edit, not using the text transcription tool, just editing. I've seen titles like Claude video editing just became unrecognizable. So I want to split it right here and take that take out. For example, I say split, and I click this and I can delete it. What you can see is that it took the text out from the transcript. So I can either use the transcript to take the video out or the video to take the transcript out. Another thing that I think is really powerful is, let's say that I realize that this sentence should probably move above this sentence right here. What I can simply do is grab this handle, move it up above it, and now it has reordered my cuts for me. So that's the basic way that you edit. You simply go through and you take out anything that was not okay. This is the point for me where I would kick it over to Resolve. So I'd simply come over to Export. I would choose Resolve, and I would pick a place to put it. In Resolve, I'm just going to make a new project. I'm going to call this Gling test. All I have to do at this point is come under the File menu. For some reason it's here, do Import, and do Timeline. And then I'll simply navigate to that folder that has that exported XML file, double click on that and say Export. It's going to ask for settings. I'm going to leave this all as the default right now. I'm going to click OK. Now you can see the timeline open in Resolve, and I have all these cuts here. These cuts are what I just did over in Gling. So that cut right there was where Gling split the text for the XML file, which is the same thing that Claude Code can do for you, except you didn't have to do any coding. But you can also export the video from here and shorts and subtitles, which means you can use this as your complete video editor. So let's say you've gone through at this point, you've done all the edits, and you want to export this as a video. You simply come here and you do export video, and it's going to render that for you. And this whole process took longer to show you than it takes you to do. And look, I'm not saying you shouldn't use Claude. The thing is that you really can edit your videos with Claude, but you shouldn't. I'm just saying, for a lot of creators, there are tools out there that will do the things that Claude Code will do from a developer that is doing things like adding features all the time. And so if something new comes out, you don't have to jump back to code and reprogram the entire editing structure for your site. You just simply take advantage of those new things. Are you going to use something like Gling, where it's mostly automated, but then you still have control over it? Or are you going to spend the time and resources building out something in Claude Code? I'm really interested to see which of these systems appeals to you most, because then I can go and I make more videos with more tips for doing it that way. I also have what I think is a really cool setup for doing Resolve editing, where I use a number pad, almost the same as doing like a separate editing deck. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments below. Not sure I'm going to make a video about that yet, but if I get enough people saying they want to see that, I will, and I can always share that information with you if you're interested. Leave me your comments, leave me your thoughts, leave me your ideas, because if you can type it, you can do it. This is Agent Baltic. I'm David, and I, for one, welcome our AI overlords.